before I start the questions, I just want to tell you that I'm so honored to that you took a few minutes of your time, because now you're a CEO, so it's a complete different stage. So I'm really honored that you're here and that I'm able to ask you some questions.
I'm really happy to be here as well. I thank you, and I'm sorry that things had to move around, so I wasn't able to participate as planned.
Well, I guess that's the best reason of all.
It's a decent one, yes. Yeah.
And yeah, and we actually got a nice lady as a replacement, Eva Karlsson. I think you also know her.
So, I do. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we are happy to fill someone in the spot, because we think this is a very important topic, and we didn't want to have a bracket there. So it's just a win-win-win, I would say.
I think you have upgraded from me to Eva.
Well, I don't know about that. So yeah, I know that your schedule is probably very busy, so I would start the recording now.
Sure.
And yeah, then I would like to start.
Fantastic. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so Ryan Gellert, it's a great honor for me to be speaking to you, although you are very busy at the moment with your work, with your new position. And yeah, I have a few questions which I think might be very interesting for our founders.
Right.
Your mission is, we are in business to save our home planet. This is striking, as most companies focus on profit maximization, and owing up to this mission, Patagonia is extremely active, politically, socially, and in regard to our environment. So why is profit maximization not your primary goal?
You know, Patagonia, well, first of all, let me say this. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this morning. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk to you. So in answer to your question, we have a 47-year history, and over our 47 years, we have continuously and progressively committed to using our business to really try to be an experiment in doing business differently. And I think we have always felt a responsibility, and I think it's become stronger with time as the overall health of the planet degrades, to think creatively about how we have a positive impact on the things that we feel most strongly about. And overwhelmingly, those are the environmental and ecological crisis. And I think that our business is one that we take very seriously. We are very proud of the product that we make for use for climbers and skiers and surfers and others. But let me also be equally clear, it's a means to an end. And our focus and our metrics are really tied to using our business to save our home planet. And so if you get if you balance things that way, I think to your question about profit maximization, that is very much just a means to an end. It allows us to do the things we do. And certainly if we were not a profitable business, without the margin, we can't have the mission that we have. And we understand that, but that's not, it very much is a means to an end. That is not what we're focused on.
Mm-hmm. But like when we look at our clothing industry, it's a major polluter, and also a reason for lots of social injustices. So is it really possible to minimize the negative footprint, or like how can founders and how can companies like put an end or like minimize the footprint?
Yeah, well, so I think you raise a couple of really interesting points there. And so I'm going to try to move through it with addressing the subtlety of that. So first of all, our old mission statement had 3 parts, and the middle part, the second of the 3, was do no unnecessary harm. And I know even in English, to a native English speaker, that's a pretty complex sort of idea. So even more so if you're not a native English speaker. But what we were trying to communicate and commit to ourselves was this understanding that running our business did harm to the planet. Mm-hmm. And we did that, and our commitment to ourselves was to do everything we could to minimize that harm, and then know that that process never ends. The more you know, the more you find other issues, and you continue to move in that direction. So the one point I'm making here is, I would not claim that Patagonia is a sustainable business, that the world is better off because we exist within it. We are committed to minimizing our footprint. And we have been for 47 years, and we have not gotten to the place where we're a truly sustainable business. Now, to the apparel sector and things that companies in the apparel sector can do, I think really understanding your supply chain, using the best materials for the planet that are available, continuing to challenge your suppliers to find better, more environmentally friendly options for how things are made, what they're made from, And just asking really probing questions of yourself and of your partner is a huge part of it. I think the other part of it is partnering with your customers to keep product in use as long as possible. You know, I think that there's this challenging reality that we face, particularly around apparel, where companies can play a really important role, but ultimately customers need to do the same. And we can't just lecture our customers about how they need to behave. We also need to create an environment where they understand the impacts of their decisions and they can make better choices.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because it sounds a bit like that the company is always growing and always like also mentally growing and always like trying to learn from like science and from people to actually enhance products and to enhance processes. That's, I think, very new to other old school companies. Let's call them like that, because like most companies that I know focus on like making people buying more stuff. It's like a planned obsolescence. So they really want to make people like consume. So as you said, like Patagonia seems to work very different. What I read and also what I heard from friends is that you repair, you share, and you recycle gear. So do you not also lose customers, or do you win more customers with that? So why do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that we do it, and it's, you know, I think often, again, I'm going to overuse this phrase, but it's a little bit of a means to an end. I mean, our focus is not on revenue creation, period. And our focus is on running our business as responsibly as we can, and then using the resources of our business. And that's the money, but it's also our voice, our customers, our employees, our communications platforms to have an outsized impact on really trying to change the capitalist system. And so, you know, I think capitalism is a broken system, but I think it's the best one we have. And so I'm anti-capitalist. I am a big believer that we need to evolve capitalism. And that's really what our focus is. But I think to your question about really trying to encourage our customers not to buy things they don't need. If they have a product from us and it's in need of a repair, let us partner with you and get your product repaired. If you've got product and it's still usable, but it's at the end, you're just done using it, sell it back to us and we will sell it to somebody else at a much diminished price. And we will give you credit for something else if you want to buy something else from us. And then finally, at the end of a product's life, send it back to us and we will take responsibility for recycling it using the best existing technology. And the reason that we do all those things is because we really see this as a relationship with our customers in helping them to make good purchasing decisions and keep their product in use as long as possible.
And also, like, your company was founded in 1973 by a climber who actually said that I want to have better gear. So also the history of your company is not like I need to find an idea, how can I make money, but more like how can I make something as useful as possible. So that probably also is one of the roots that why your company is like structured that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of our philosophy and the way the decisions that we make and the way we think go back to our founder, who also, just to be clear, was our founder 47 years ago, was still our sole owner, and is very involved in setting the philosophical direction for the company. So we're 100% privately owned by the person who started the company 47 years ago. And you know, he has always been very contrarian in his thinking. He has always taken tremendous responsibility for his decisions through his business and otherwise. And he's always treated Patagonia like it's an experiment in doing business differently. And so that's been incredibly inspiring to be around and be a part of. But it's also a challenge in a good way because it keeps us really on. And, you know, as the business has grown and it's gotten a whole lot bigger than I think he and really all of us ever thought possible, you know, it might be natural to think that we start the commitments start dissipating. And, you know, every time you talk to Yvonne, it's the exact opposite. It's okay, how do we do more of this? How do we have a bigger impact? Are we making too much stuff? Are we growing too much? And these are the questions he asks. And ultimately, our set of metrics for performance in the future need to be completely decoupled from financial metrics. And they need to be focused on how much new product did we put out in the world? How much came back for repair? How much came back for resale? How much, those are the metrics that really need to matter as we look at the next chapter of Patagonia.
Wow, that's astonishing. I have two more questions. One is because, like, as you just said, your engagement for Livable Future seems to have like no limits, but also politically, because Patagonia sued President Trump in order to preserve two national monuments in Utah. And more recently, that information even got to Germany, that you produced a tag with the name "Vote the Assholes Out" that appeared on a batch of shorts. And your company clearly denounces poor action of those in power regarding climate change. Should companies be so political and so upfront? And is that also some way of a marketing strategy? Because you are political, you take a very clear standpoint for climate. Yeah.
Yeah, so you do reference a couple of things that we've taken pretty big positions on. There certainly are more. Here's how I look at that. Again, I think the context is important, and mine is we are living in the leading edge of a climate and ecological crisis that is an existential threat to us as humans, that is man-made. And so I believe that we have got roughly a decade to stabilize our climate. And if you believe that, as I do and as we do, I think you also believe and understand that we are going to need every tool in the toolbox to solve this problem we've created. And that's government doing what government was created to do, which is solve these large, complex problems on behalf of people, for better or for worse. And I think we're past the phase of being able to engage in this ideological conversation about the role of business. Is it profit maximization? Is it broader? If we're going to fix this, business has to participate in meaningful ways. And then finally, so do individuals, not just making individual choices, but also in their roles as part of civil society. And that's how they vote. It's educating themselves and how they vote and doing these other things. And so, yeah, I believe that's the backdrop against which we make these decisions. And is it a marketing strategy? Absolutely not. It's a communication strategy. It's a responsibility strategy. It's a reflection of our beliefs, and what we see is just an absolute necessity, unfortunately, given the world we've created.
And actually that this tag was also very popular and very much liked. It was on Twitter and on Instagram, etc. And It's interesting because people seem to also like companies that have a clear position and that are also don't try to sell something through their ways, but they really try to make it clear, and also through their history to show that they're honest and that they're not just making something up. So that's it's.
What I think is that, to your point, I think we're living in a world. Social media has got many downsides, but one of the things I do appreciate living in this world that's so overwhelmingly influenced by social media is, I think there's a higher level of transparency. Companies just can't hide anymore the way they used to. If things are happening, I think generally they get socialized, and I think that's overall a good thing. I think it is moving us towards a world of higher levels of transparency. And I think people are becoming more sophisticated and really understanding that they have a set of decisions to make, and they can influence businesses in how they spend their dollars or the euros. And I think that, to your point, I think there's lots of people that saw the tag that we put out and were angry about it and sent us letters and said they'll never buy anything from us again. I reluctantly have to accept that, but that tag reflects our position. By the way, that position was not aimed at the current administration. That position, vote the assholes out, is something we've been saying for a long time internally, because anybody that's standing in the way of meaningful climate litigation and regulation, and certainly those that are taking money from extractive industry, there's a special ring in hell for people like that, in my opinion. So, vote the assholes out in whatever party they may be a part of in any part of the world, if they fit that description.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very strong commitment. And this interview will be probably watched by many founders and many soon-to-be founders, let's call them that way. So do you have any tips, any hints, anything that you could tell them, any advice for them maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're living in a new period, and I think that, as I said before, I think we need all levers within society moving in the same direction to just kind of create the kind of world that I think across ideological spectrums, at the end of the day, we all kind of want the same things, right? For ourselves, for our kids, for our families, friends, and otherwise. We want clean air, we want clean water, we want clean soil, we want to be safe. We want to make a decent living and live at an acceptable standard. And those are not political topics. Those are shared topics. And so I think, to your question, I think anybody that's starting a business or has a business, just really focusing, just being honest with yourself about the impact of your business, being bold in thinking about what you can do to have a more positive impact. And I think if you're in the business of making anything, and so services may be a bit different here, really understanding deeply your supply chain. And finally, I would say just understanding that the journey towards sustainability, this isn't a one-year thing. There's not a set of boxes to be checked and you move on to other things. This is a lifelong commitment because we've got to continue to find better ways of living in balance with the limited resources we have left on the planet.
Also, because you spend so much time in doing your work, it might also be like that you want to do something useful while you work. If you like 12, 14 hours a day doing something, it's better if it's for something good, I guess.
Yeah, not only do I believe that, but I also believe that, you know, I've for better or for worse, I've met a lot of very successful people. If you measure them by the standard metrics of business success, they've made a lot of money, they've built big businesses, they've had influence in big businesses. And I don't think that that's a recipe for happiness. You know, I think that ultimately, and you see this more with people who have been more successful than they ever thought possible at a young age. You know, I'm not suggesting they're not happy about that, but ultimately you sort of sit back and go, okay, what else is there? And I think, you know, one of the greatest joys in life is doing what you love and feeling good about what you do. And I think for entrepreneurs, there's a unique opportunity to create that path. And I don't think you have to have all the answers at the beginning, but, you know, one of the things Yvonne, our founder and owner, says often is, you know, he's a very entrepreneurial person, but what he says is, look, I don't know where I'm going most of the time. I decide what I think is the right direction. I take a step. If it proves to be a good step, I take another. And if not, I rethink and go in a different direction. And I think as simple as that sounds, it's a pretty good formula for thinking through the complexity of many of these issues.
Thank you. That's so insightful. And I'm very glad that I got the time to speak to you in person, although it's online. And yeah, I'm looking very much forward to seeing the future of Patagonia and seeing more of you, more of the company. And yeah, it's been a great pleasure for me to be speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Very nice to speak with you and your community as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So yeah, I will cut now. Sorry I was a bit nervous.
No worries. That was great. It was great. Did a fantastic job.
And we actually have our neighbors tearing down a wall now. And I have I told them, you have to stop for 15 minutes. You have to. And I have a 5-week-old girl in the other room. And my
wow, congratulations.
It was quite a challenging thing, but I'm happy that I got the chance to speak to you.
You did a wonderful job. So congratulations.
Thank you. But I wish you all the best for your future and really all the best for Patagonia. I'm such a fan of your company and we all are. So it's for us a double win that I got to speak to you and we got to send your message out to our community.
Well, thank you so much. I hope we get to meet in person sometime and please tell Eva I said hello as well.
I will. So have a good day.
You too. Good luck with your event. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.